Should kids be allowed to change genders? Alright. I will let my son sip walk before I give him estrogen pills, bro. If I had the option between letting my son eat gum off the side of the road every single day before he turns 18, or handing him off to some doctors where they can literally treat him like a science fair project and inject him with whatever chemicals, hormones, and do whatever surgeries they want onto him, he's getting the gum, without question. But this video, should kids be allowed to change their genders, shows what people on the street feel about this question, so we're gonna let them give their thoughts. Let's see it.
What would you say to someone who says that gender dysphoria is a mental illness?
They can go themselves.
Copy that, but you still made the decision to waltz outside exposing your cavernous belly button to the camera. I think there's a 1% chance that politically correct Jake Paul here is going to say anything that I agree with.
Themselves.
You want to answer that question?
My personal opinions would offend some people.
Well, we did just see one person who'd probably get triggered by what you have to say. The saddest part is this guy had to make sure the coast is clear before even saying that what he may think would offend some people. Dude's checking his 3 o'clock to make sure this guy doesn't jump out of nowhere with a rainbow pool noodle.
I would let them be whoever they want to be.
Oh, that's adorable. I let my kid be whoever they want to be. That's so great and awesome and progressive. You know, I completely agree, dude. If my kid grew up to be an autistic, gay, furry pedophile, you know what? I would have absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. And if anybody did have a problem with that, you know what? I would just say screw them, man. Also, what's up with the 32 gigabyte flash drive in your ear? Did EDP hand that off to you or something and you put it in your ear to make it seem less conspicuous? There is most certainly a homework folder on that flash drive, if you catch my drift.
Does this still apply even if they're under 18?
We're supposed to be the land of freedom.
They could have a lot of regrets.
The parent, honestly, they could f off.
So today I'm out here and the question I'll be asking is, should minors be allowed to transition?
Yes, absolutely. Because it's their body, they're gonna grow up either just like on puberty blockers so they can make a decision later or feel comfortable in their own body.
Alright, just actually think about that for a second. We live in a time period in history where real human beings in this country have to spend time and energy to construct and formulate arguments as to why literal children should not take steps to become the other gender. And it's crazy because the people growing up, even as recent as like in the early 2000s, never had to think of this as a controversial thing. Like, what even is this dialogue? What is this discourse? Like, you have one side that says, oh yeah, there's no problem with kids taking either endocrine disruptors, puberty blockers, hormones, changing my kids' pronouns, and in some rare cases, even giving my kids surgery. And the other side says, like, let's not do that. And the side that says, let's not do that, is seen by the side that says, let's do that, as like the worst people humanly imaginable.
I guess more so they should be able to do puberty blockers because that doesn't like affect anything.
What a 10 out of 10 sentence. They should be allowed to take puberty blockers because they don't affect anything. Well, obviously they affect something because otherwise you wouldn't take them. If I'm a doctor and I prescribe you a drug that doesn't do anything, I'm a horrible doctor and I'm gonna lose my license. Obviously puberty blockers do something.
If they cannot smoke cigarettes or drink alcohol, then what gives them the right to choose their gender?
You know, that's one way to say the correct take on this issue, and I gotta give credit to Jen, the guy making the video and doing the interviews, because he's very smart with YouTube. He knows if he puts like the worst takes first, he's gonna get people to continue watching, so credit where it's due.
Minors should be allowed to do what their parents allow them to do. Of course, many people are going to have objections, but people are going to do what they're going to do, so if they don't do it while they're under your roof, they're going to do it later.
I mean, yeah, when you're a kid versus when you're an adult, you obviously have more freedom. As a parent, I would not let my kid smoke cigarettes, but once he turns 21 and he doesn't live with me, I mean, like, you know, he's an adult, he can do what he wants. I'm just not sure what this guy's conclusion is. He's saying that if they don't do it while they are under your roof, they're gonna do it when they're not under your roof. Is he saying that basically they're gonna do whatever they want eventually, so let them do whatever they want now? Because I completely disagree with that.
If it's not approached like correctly, like, you know, they could have a lot of regrets down the road.
I mean, yeah, first Google search and I see r/detransition with almost 50,000 people part of the community. Now, that's the first thing that I saw, okay? First thing that I saw when I looked this up. That is 50,000 people that underwent some sort of transitioning and somewhere along the road decided, yeah, I'm gonna revert to default settings. Whatever's going on here ain't working. And that unfortunately means some of them are guys who just got the meat sliced off, bro, and you can't ever get that back. That's irreversible damage. You're gonna live your whole life without that, bro. Sad. Really, really sad stuff. But still, you have people like this who are like, Omega lol, who cares? Let kids do whatever they want.
But if it's not approached like correctly, like, you know, they could have a lot of regrets down the road. So they need to get to a certain age where then they can make that choice.
So do you think like the cutoff age should be like 18?
Who said that 18 is when you become an adult?
If I'm a parent, I want you to wait until at least you're like 20, so you know you get to experience the world a little bit. And then I'd be like, if you still want to, go for it. But minors, I don't think so.
Absolutely correct, young man. Let's get this bread, bro. We cannot have these people saying, yeah, let's get the kids trans. No, we're not doing that. He was simple. He was concise. He basically just said, you don't know anything. You're a kid. You're making a bad decision, and you gotta wait in order to make that bad decision.
When you look at it holistically, it's not one person's decision, and it shouldn't be.
Because since 2017, there's been a 20-fold increase in gender transitions, with a disproportionate amount of cases amongst teens.
I don't want to wait any longer than I have to because I just kind of want to get it over and done with.
On one hand, gender-affirming surgery has helped many who've struggled with their identity. But when some studies are showing that up to 30% have detransitioned, we must question the influence of societal pressure.
30%? Oh, nah. According to this study, which, listen, I'm gonna keep it about, I don't know how credible this is, but I trust Jen. He usually does great research with these videos. There's a greater chance of being trans going wrong and you detransition than flipping a coin and getting tails twice.
And consider the irreversible consequences of allowing life-altering decisions at a young age.
And there's so many people who regret this.
I ruined my life.
But if it ain't hurting anyone, shouldn't we be able to do what we want with our bodies? Because isn't the purpose of life finding ourselves and our identity? Or is this all just a slippery slope to lifelong regret? Guess we gon' see. Currently there's, age limits for things like getting into bars, drinking, voting. So in that sense, do you think that minors are capable of making a life-altering decision like transitioning?
What you're comparing, if, that's completely different with being freedom of wanting to be happy for who you are.
What? I'm confused. He basically said that having age requirements is pretty common for a lot of things in this country. Shouldn't there be one for this? And then this guy or girl, I don't know, guy was like, no, but this is different because it makes them happy. Yeah, well, dude, going to a bar, watching the game and getting some wings is also making me happy, hello? And it would probably make like a 17-year-old pretty happy. He'd have a great night, but it's illegal, Just because doing something makes you happy with who you are does not mean you should be able to do it. Public urination. Listen, some guys, they really gotta go, and it would make them really happy if they could just pee in public and save that time. In those dire moments, bro, they wish they had that freedom to just whip out the old snake and drain it. And it would definitely improve their life, make them a lot happier, bro. But, anyways.
I think we make life-altering decisions about minors all the time. They make their own decisions, like going to college and taking on debt.
Is this guy dumb? Minors don't go to college. I just finished my first year of college, did not have classes with any minors. Every person that I interacted with was 18 and up, my friend. But okay, even if we were living in delirium and 15-year-olds were making the decision whether or not to go to college, why are we comparing going to get an education to, altering your entire bodily composition and doing irreversible changes and or harm?
Do you know 200 kids about last year under the age of 18 medically transitioned and 3,000 got titties? So,
but I guess I gotta say maybe getting breast implants is probably a little bit different than let's say taking hormones.
Well, which one's better or worse?
I can't say what's better or worse, but it's probably different in terms of magnitude.
Yeah, listen, minors should not be able to get cosmetic surgery. I completely agree with that. No minor should be able to get breast implants. That's crazy. But on that same coin, all of these gender-related surgeries should absolutely not be available to minors under any circumstance. But Jen is absolutely correct in highlighting that they're not of the same magnitude. If you get breast implants and then for whatever reason you do not want them anymore, okay, that's a simple surgery, you're in and out and it's done, whatever. But if you, for example, take HRT as a woman and then a few months into it, you're like, okay, this is not what I want. In some cases, your voice is permanently deepened. And if you're a guy who decides to take a lot of estrogen, even only the course of a few months, there's a chance that your sperm floating around in your ball sack doesn't work, bro. You may be shooting blanks.
Sure, maybe it is. However, we're supposed to be the land of freedom.
I think people should be allowed to make mistakes if they want to. They're gonna do what they want to do anyway, so they might as well have proper care rather than whatever you can just find.
You're not gonna yourself because you can't go into a bar. You will and often do yourself because you are not in the body that you should be in.
First of all, this guy very much just dismissed the struggle of an alcoholic. Dude, alcoholic, maybe he's depressed because he can't get a sip of some bourbon or something. A guy wants to go to Buffalo Wild Wings and buy a few shots and, I don't know, maybe he's on probation and he can't. What if he gets depressed because of that and kills himself?
You will and often do yourself because you are not in the body that you should be in.
So you think like some of like the risk associated with not allowing you to transition might be something like unaliving yourself?
Absolutely.
And so if the case can be made regarding risks of transitioning, I wanted to ask the other side for solutions. What do you propose as an alternative for someone who is experiencing gender dysphoria, but they're minor?
You could do like the makeup stuff, like the drag queen stuff, but like, I don't know, surgery, and you'll never get it back.
I mean, yeah, you know, I definitely dap this guy up. I give him respect for his opinion, but I do not think that just because we're not going to let the kids do surgery and that's totally off limits, that we could settle for some sort of less extreme version of that, like being a drag queen. But I don't think we should do that either. If Jen came up to me and said, oh, yo, would you let your kid be transgender through surgery? I would say, no, of course not. And he would say, okay, well, would you let your kid be a drag queen? And I would say, still, no. I always find it so funny when people say, drag is just expressing yourself. It's not that bad. Like, as if there aren't good and bad ways to express yourself. If I had a son who pooped his pants and then he took the poop and made a smiley face on the white wall, yeah, the smiley face is a form of positivity and good vibes and it's a good message, but it's literal fecal matter. It's disgusting. Therefore, a bad way to express yourself. I don't even care. I'd let my son go to dance classes, singing classes, things that, you know, maybe you'd call gay. Because dance classes and singing lessons are not inherently degenerate, in the same way that a lot of the drag community is.
So
my daughter, she said that she was a lesbian when she was 12, and I went along with it because if that's how she feels inside, I'm not going to discourage her feelings. Now, if my daughter related as a male, I would not encourage her to go and have surgery to do anything to her body like that, not until she's of age. And I would explore their feelings with them and help them go through the process to see.
But are we living in a time where a child's autonomy trumps a parent's responsibility?
That's a very thought-provoking question because obviously in this country there were time periods in the United States where kids were not to be heard from but rather just to be seen. And if your dad found out that you were holding hands with a girl below the age of 18, you were getting the belt. But that was like, what, 1970 or something? Now we're in 2023, where not only is that so far behind us, you have people that now go on the internet and claim with a straight face that if your parents do not affirm your neo-pronouns like bunny and bun self, that your parents are abusing and oppressing you and that you should call Child Protective Services. If this TikTok generation was properly scolded even a little bit, we could have a much better outcome.
So currently there's like a bill being proposed in Washington state where if a parent disagrees with their children's desire to want to transition, that authorities can take away that child from that parent.
To ensure that these youth have access to safe housing.
Do you think that parents should have a say or like a final say on whether a child is able to transition or not?
That child has to live with that decision, not the parent. The parent, honestly, they could f off.
Is that not literally what I just talked about, how parents have no rights to their own kids? If you're a parent and you've raised a son for 12 years and then that son comes home one day and says, yeah, you know what, I want to get a Pikachu tattoo on my cheek, every single parent would say, no, that's a horrible idea, you're gonna regret it, you would look stupid, you would look silly, it's not a good idea, it would hurt. Right, everybody would agree that's totally reasonable, but for some reason, if, you know, my 12-year-old son comes up to me and says, hey, Dad, can we go dress shopping? I want to get some new dresses. And I say, no, you look silly, you look stupid. It's a waste of time and money. What, that's now a harmful environment? I should go f myself or something? I'm a horrible parent. The government could take my kid away from me?
You're also talking about such a tiny little fraction of the world that we're making these big decisions for. And if there is a question, it needs to go to the courts, not to the legislative bodies that are making these rules just because they need votes.
Yeah, it's a good point, right? Especially when there's external factors like that involved.
I don't think a child should be taken away from parents because of the foster care system already. It's already shit. It needs to be helped.
I don't think any parent should have their child taken away. And I think that these kids that might be confused and maybe might change their minds in the future would dearly regret that.
If you want to claim that to be child abuse, then you also have to claim that choosing not to vaccinate your children is child abuse. You cannot make a healthcare decision by a parent child abuse just because you personally don't agree with it.
A lot of people are making some great points in this video. Yeah, if my kid doesn't get vaccinated, right, should the government take away my kid? No. If I don't let my kid eat Scooby-Doo fruit snacks every single day for every meal of the day, should I get arrested for child neglect? And look, man, I don't bring this up to say that there aren't bad parents. Some people have it rough. But that lady said it best. The foster care system and the government having your kids is, bro, I feel like that's worse in like 80% of the situations. I mean, in the 20% of the situation where your parents are literally like abusing you, like physically, then yeah, the government gotta take them. But you want to avoid that at all costs.
Any good, reasonable, normal American doctor will actually require you therapy before you transition.
They can go themselves. People fix their gender dysphoria all the time. They get breast reductions, breast enlargements, they get filler, Botox. Like, it's already happening. It's just a stigma around trans people.
Alright, so this guy said people fix their gender dysphoria all the time, but there's a stigma when trans people do it. I thought trans people were the only ones who could experience gender dysphoria. Looks like AI even agrees. Gender dysphoria is a term used to describe the distress or discomfort experienced by individuals whose gender identity differs from the sex they were assigned at birth. Yeah, so a woman getting lip injections is not because she has gender dysphoria. This isn't congruent with your logic at all. Like, a woman getting lip injections because she feels like a man? Makes no sense, dog.
Should minors have the ability to give informed consent, especially if there's discrepancies from both sides on the risks? But more importantly, what's causing these exponential increases in the first place?
So there's recently been a 20-fold increase in people transitioning into different genders, and that statistic is overrepresented by teenagers. What do you think is the cause of this?
You know, there's just like not trends. I'm not saying trends, but like, you know, there's like, I don't know. I don't want to answer that question.
You don't want to answer that question? Why not?
Just because I feel like my personal opinions would like offend some people.
Not that they're suddenly more, it's just suddenly they're visible. Like,
well, suddenly they're visible because suddenly there's more. This guy's saying, no, there's always been trans people, but they're only now getting recognition. It's like, well, yeah, because, dude, there's like a massive increase in the amount of them now. I mean, yeah, there are other things that have to do with, like, I guess, visibility or whatever. I mean, like, Pride Month only became, I guess, popular and recognized over the past decade. But part of the reason why it got more popular is because more people were coming out and stuff over the past 10 years. It's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did Pride Month get like super popular and people started respecting it and then people started coming out? Or has there been an increase in people identifying as LGBT and then Pride Month gets more popular and then trans gets more popular and therefore recognized? It's like what this guy was trying to say before he cut himself off because he knew he'd get canceled, that yeah, it is kind of like a trend.
Not trends. I'm not saying trends, but like, you know, there's like, I don't know. I don't want to answer that question.
You don't want to answer that question? Why not?
Just because I feel like my personal opinions would like offend some people.
Me, when I was 12, I became gothic. That was because of my feelings. I had a lot of emotional trauma.
So do you think that it's kind of been a phase that teenagers naturally go through?
I agree, yes, but not all of it. Most of it, though, I do agree it would be a phase. It's kind of cool to be gay.
Yeah, I put 5 different, you know, LGBT terms or whatever on this Google Trends graph to show me how popular these terms are and the interest over time. And as you can see, a lot of the popularity spiked around 2017 and has been either going up or staying the same level of high up until today. So I think it's kind of foolish to just say that there's absolutely no part of this that's a trend. Like, I literally knew a girl in high school who was non-binary or whatever during the pandemic and went by they, them. But the moment we started actually going back to school in person and not on Zoom, all of a sudden, the they, them slowly turned into she, they. And eventually we go back to school with no masks or no restrictions and it's back to she, her default settings. Obviously, that's my own personal experience. It doesn't really prove anything, but it's a good anecdote to go with that graph, which is like, dude, it is a trend to some extent.
And is this consumption of content related to these issues exactly what's contributing to the youth's identity crisis? A controversial study conducted by Brown University professor Dr. Lisa Littman asked parents of transgender children a series of questions to measure their level of support and to hear about their child's transitioning process.
I noticed something that was unusual, and I felt that it needed some exploration.
And even though the survey revealed a group of highly open and supportive parents, what they found as the cause was shocking. Findings reveal that 87% of the children experience gender dysphoria, either after being influenced by a friend or after binge watching transition content, or both.
Well, I mean, this makes perfect sense, right? Like, you're not gonna become something that you don't even know what that thing is. If you're a girl that grows up on a farm in rural Montana, you will literally never come out as non-binary because you've never heard of it. You've never been exposed to it at all. It's not going to happen. Whereas if you go to a super liberal private school in California where they go overboard and have like a Pride Month rave or something, and maybe you use social media excessively, and there is an abundance of this type of content on social media. So even if you totally support that movement, I feel like it would be kind of stupid to reject this study. I mean, this makes a lot of sense.
I looked at the social media content and it was quite alarming. Teenagers, maybe on Reddit, were saying, you know, I have these feelings, I never fit in, I feel lonely, does that mean I'm trans?
Ooh, yeah, that's really bad. Imagine going from like, I'm sad, I don't have that many friends, to like, I was born in the wrong body. I don't know if that's what the study's saying, but if it is, that's tough. But anyways, go check out the full video by Jen, link will be in the description below. And anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Comment down toaster if you made it to the very end of the video. Follow my social medias, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.